Welcome back, everyone. This is another video I'm making for my channel, The Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. I appreciate you watching. I'm making a video today to talk about I guess I'm extending on a video I made about my recent black 301A Singer acquisition and how unusual it is. Well, apparently we caught lightning in a bottle twice, because not only is the machine in mint condition, this is the cabinet it came in. Now, a lot of the 301s came in carry cases, those beautiful grass cloth carry cases, which if you were fortunate to find one, you hope to find one that is not molded. Some of them are not, which is great. They can be cleaned if they are, but whoever bought this 301A, the dark glossy black one I showed you in a recent video, they also sprung for a cabinet. Now you might say, well, okay, they got this cabinet. This cabinet would have been one of the beginning size cabinets for a sewing machine. And many of you have seen these before. And of course, when you went in to the Singer dealer, you had so many choices just with cabinets, never mind the machine. And when you picked a cabinet, you picked a size of a cabinet, how many drawers it had, and then you got to pick the wood finish. Now, this, regardless of the color, because people often mix up color names in things like stain on wood furniture with the actual wood. So you might look at it and say, well, I think it looks like cherry, but you're really looking at a color. It's a very reddish tone. This is also a 75-year-old table, so over time its color has shifted. But what I wanted to show you was the fact that this was ordered in walnut burl. And if you were willing to pay extra, and you could do this even on a Sears machine. I think I've talked about the great table. One of the things I wish I had never sold was a Kenmore rotary table that I had found in a barn surrounded by goats. And once I got all the grime and grit off and the old paint, I had a surface not unlike this. This is walnut, and if you look really closely, I'll get my flashlight. There we go. Now the flashlight makes it look a little more yellow than it is. But notice the way the light bounces on it, and it's matched. Of course, with veneers, you often have, when you have beautiful veneer patterns, they're often matched. So if you see here, and you can see this on other furniture besides sewing tables, but you can see the patterns are matched. And there's a line, it's a very beautifully discrete line for something that was made without a computer. But the other thing about this is the condition. The condition of this table is extraordinary. Now, there's one side of the table that looks a little lighter, and some of the original shellac or lacquer that was placed on it has broken down, and that's because I have a pretty strong suspicion this side faced a window and sunlight actually came here. I believe Restore Finish will do a great job at helping to fix this and to blend everything back. As you know, I prefer to conserve as much as I can before trying to strip anything. It's not my approach, both with machines and tables. But anyway, so why am I going on and on about the walnut and the burl finish on top? Remember how tiny houses were. Well, I say tiny compared to what they are today. The average house in North America in 1951, which is around when this actually was purchased for the 301, the average house in North America was between 850, maybe 900 square feet. Today, the average house is over 2,000 square feet. So, obviously, most people at that time, when they had a sewing machine out, that was considered a tool, like an appliance, and they wanted to put it away when they were done, primarily because many of these tables, they didn't have. Some people had the luxury of sewing rooms. Maybe they were in big, if you lived in a large house, maybe one of the older Victorian homes, but most people didn't have that. And so this table was not just a place for a sewing machine to be stored. You also had to find a place in your house for it. And often it would either double as maybe a side table not really by a bed. That would be difficult to get to the machine perhaps. But either it was kept in a bedroom as a lamp table, or even more often in a living room space. People didn't really have dens and living rooms. Again, the average house was small, middle class house, And they would buy these, and of course, it has a drawer, but the drawer is really a place to store sewing notions, and there was a place for the original oval-shaped Singer oiling can. But, and sometimes you'll see a little keyhole lock, and the lock was not to prevent theft. It was to prevent the prying hands of little children from exploring where they shouldn't be. Anyway, the point here is that it was the idea behind this. Let's put the machine away when we're done. We'll put a lace, maybe a lace doily or something on top, and we'll put a lamp on it, and it will look like a beautiful piece of furniture, which it is, depending on your point of view in terms of aesthetics. But the point is, again, it was done, and you could get them in different styles. Later in the 50s, you start to see the blonde versions of these and a more modern, I've covered tables before that have a very modern, mid-century modern aesthetic. But this table was more money than this one. And this table is from a very similar time period. In fact, this would have been one of the options other than this one. You see the cabriole leg, the little turn there. But in fact, this table could have easily been sold in the same showroom the same year. It has, again, the pull-out drawer, but it has a key lock. Maybe that was extra. I don't know. So many things were upgrades. So you see the fluting here on the side. Again, they had many styles. And once you get into the 50s, they kept selling these older ones. And then they also had the newer styles. Singer was great about keeping both old and new designs going. I don't know how they did it. They must have just kept all their factories humming. But this table is in slightly less nice condition. There's a few scuffs down here, right down here on the legs. Those will clean up and rather nicely with Restore Finish again. But I wanted to show you also the top of this table. Now this table, it's not certain. I don't know if this is maple or I don't think it's mahogany. Now as tables go, this is not in terrible shape. I've seen worse. I'm going to take the Restore Finish to it. It has a little bit of a texture on it, so I don't know if anyone tried to refinish it in the past. I don't think so because the color is incredibly accurate. Refinishing furniture or parts of it and getting it to blend is a very, very complex, I call it an art form. But if you look, you'll see, there's a scratch. There's a scratch over here, a little scratch here. Again, I can touch these up. But even when it was new, it would have been slightly less expensive than the one I just showed you with the burl, because the walnut burl was considered a more luxurious feature, right? To have veneer, walnut veneer, was an upgrade. And so you would have all these different price points. You could, when you got the 301, it came with a grass cloth carry case, and they would say, well, thank you, and enjoy your machine, and there's your case. Getting the table was extra. And both of these tables that I've shown you, this one, which again, it's functionally fine. Anyone could look at it and say, oh, it's a lovely table. And so it's this one, but you had to pay more for the veneer matching. And if you've ever gone looking for furniture, new furniture that's hardwood, you'll know that the type of wood, the finish on the wood, the pattern of the graining, all of these things influence the price. Wow, can you imagine going into a dealer and having to make all these decisions? And what if you were making those decisions near the holidays and it was a surprise? And you're in there and you're thinking, okay, what kind of furniture do we have? People were people have always wanted to be proud of their homes and what was in them. But again, if you had to squeeze, you had a big family, you're trying to squeeze in a dining table, you've got to have a place to entertain, hopefully, and you're trying to get your sewing machine in there somewhere, because the sewing machine was it was a key appliance that most every home had or had access to, because people used to do a lot of their own garment making than they do now, obviously. But anyway, I wanted you to see this because some of you will look at tables, you say, oh, it's just an old Singer table. But when you see one that, I see just a little bit of rubbing on the edges that will clean up with the Restore Finish, but the top is perfect. Someone kept this table in this condition for going on 75 years. And it is gorgeous. I don't know how it survived. Maybe it survived the same way that Singer 301 with the black, gorgeous, shiny finish did. Whoever it did took very good care of their stuff, and I'm really glad that they did. I'm really happy to see that. So anyway, I appreciate all of you watching, and stay tuned. I'll be working on the 301, and